You've said that the Volcker Rule in its current form is unreasonable. How come?
It's unreasonable because it applies outside the United States everywhere in the world. It's supposed to be about risk in the United States, but the way it's written, it applies to things that don't have any risk in the United States and just sort of happen outside the U.S.
What types of modifications should be made so that it doesn't affect other non-U.S. banks so much?
Well, really, they should scrap the proposal that they have and go back and look at the way current law judges risk to the United States. The markets have a really good way of judging that by where a deal is booked, where people work on it, where the risk lies, where the money comes from, where the money's going. Those are all the things that I think people are very comfortable with and can live with, as opposed to this, 300-page long sort of diluted test as to, is something a threat to the U.S. financial system.
So you think it would help if they are more specific in the types of threats that they're seeking?
I think that's right. In some ways, the Volcker Rule is the single largest application of U.S. law extraterritorially ever in the history of the United States. And because of that, they have to be really careful. You don't want to have it just apply to something that happens in Asia, or happens in Europe, happens in Australia. Because of that, people will try and avoid it, and they'll keep things outside the United States. So what you want is a fair test that judges accurately things that are risky to the United States and the U.S. financial system and the banks that are here, and ignores the stuff that's outside the United States.
So in its current form, what do you think the worst case scenario is? What do you think the worst effect of the Volcker Rule could be?
The worst effect will be to cause some banks to pick up and move. Banks that are very large outside the United States and have very little to do here, but have just set up shop here and have access to the U.S. markets, will decide it's not worth it and will just pull up stakes and do business outside the United States.